What a pleasant day. Nice and sunny and warm. My only problem is it's a little windy. That's, honestly, I'd say high wind is almost, no, it's not as bad as rain, but it's up there. As a pretty locked-in hat guy, plus when I'm fucking riding my bike around, that's gotta be one of the worst feelings. Hat blows off, you're speeding down the road, and then you gotta turn around, pick that shit up. Not good. You know what I really need is like a little chin strap that I can hook onto the front of it. Not I mean, like a helmet, but just to keep it from blowing off. But getting more lifting related, plan is just fucking arms, curls, push downs, machine dips, of course, maybe some preachers, maybe some what else? Oh, you get the deal. You know, just arms. I'll definitely try to overload some movements if I feel strong, you know, if my whole system can handle it. I don't see a problem trying to, like, let's say the most you can curl for 10 is like the 50-pound dumbbell, and you're really pushing it. You know, if your forearms aren't hurting and your strength feels good, I say push it, man. You know, you're gonna get some solid stimulation from heavier weights. I'm not saying that's the best method, you know, per se. I don't do every set as heavy as I can, but if I do a couple sets of heavy curls and then move on to like a, you know, a curl machine and really focus on squeezing with like comparably like much lighter weight, like to the point where it's like only a third as much force, but I'm really being methodical with the reps. You know, once you add up a variety of those together, you're nice and fatigued and you're fully pumped, you've had a good lift. You know, I can't stress that enough. It's kind of like a fucking, you know, the ends justify the means type situation, where if you are, you know, if you're locked into the perfect form, science-based reps in reserve, complete extension dogma, or is that even the right word, dogma or meta? If that's your shit and you lift fucking hard and you have a good pump and you're getting results, then you're good. What you're doing is fucking working. Whereas if you're more of a kind of meatheady, you know, do some heavy sets of curls, use a little bit of playful form, really kind of push yourself, maybe be a little bit more focused on the progressive overload and biasing more tension in your sets. If you get big and you're making results and you're getting pretty fucking pumped, then guess what, man? That shit's fucking working too. So the fact that that can be the case, you know, and that multiple different methods are going to give you, you know, similar results, at least in terms of size gain. Like, two guys could train very differently, but as long as they both trained hard, they're both going to grow. You know, the fact that that's the case kind of starts, you know, a potential argument, or at least a debate on like what the best method actually is, because multiple people get results from doing things in very different ways. But when I see that, I just hear, you know, okay, results can be attained in different ways. So you're not going to catch me do 1 rep maxes, and you're probably not going to catch me do like a 50 rep burnout set of like slow reps. But, you know, in between with heavier sets of 8 or maybe lighter sets of 20, or the occasional drop set and superset, triple drop, fucking rest pause, you know, insert any other fancy pants intensifier, then, you know, as long as I go hard, I should expect some results. And I'll get into one thing before, no, I'll save that for later. Yeah, I posted a TikTok earlier, just a random fucking edit, but I'm gonna scan through the comments. We can do a little Q&A in the car in the parking lot, or maybe I'll make some food and do one. I don't know, I'll screenshot some of the better ones. But by now, it'd be too late to go to it and comment. All the comments that I'm gonna read have already been written, basically, because this is now in the future. But yeah, after the, let's call it the post-workout debrief, I'll try to answer some of your most burning questions. Maybe we'll get to the bottom of some Sam mysteries that we never even thought to think of. But before then, a freaky ass arm pump, hopefully with more veins than last time, but only time will tell. So let's park and get started. I'm not gonna do much single arm stuff because I was saying this in the car last time. The pump, when I'm dieted down and not like full of fucking 1,000 grams of carbs, it's fleeting. So for me to sit here and do like every set of triceps as just one leg or one arm on its own, and then the next one, like I feel like, well, it just, let's just say it requires more constant and maybe efficient sets to get really pumped up. You know, when I'm full of fucking carbs, I can do one set every 4 minutes and be fucking, you know, pumped up to a frightening degree. Whereas, I mean, you know, if I'm on my way to pumped up and then I take a 10-minute break to talk to somebody or whatever, then I'm gonna come back and my triceps are gonna fucking shrink down. And my whole goal is to be totally pumped at the end of the lift, as well as fatigued. You know, it's kind of a combination. But you know, speaking of getting in the groove, let's get started. Straight up heavy set first, and then I will go from here. Yeah. 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 One more at least. Okay, let's do some machine dips. Okay, heavy ass dips. I was gonna try to say something that rhymed with that, but I can't really. Whatever. Let's just hit the set. Yeah. 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 Oh, we gotta make that a drop set. Yeah. 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 Okay. All right. Yeah. 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 Boom. Cat's dropping. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I know I just said I wasn't going to do single-sided stuff, but this is pretty much a double-sided set. I'm not going to do my whole right arm and then my whole left one. I'm doing 5 reps on the right, 5 in the left, back and forth, back and forth. And honestly, after this one, I might be close to done. You know, I get to a point where I'm fully pumped. I've done enough sets where honestly, there starts to be a diminishing return to where I don't even get any more pumped, and I don't really feel like I'm doing any more effective work. I'm just kind of going through the motions. So you know, I guess in a way I do maybe ease up on the volume when I'm dieting down. Just because you gotta think, I don't have as many calories at my disposal to even recover from a crazier workout. And all I'm trying to do is maintain the muscle I already have. So if I come in the gym, lift some heavy weights, and finish with a pump, I know that even though I'm in a deficit, I am gonna hold on to most of my muscle and strength. But one or two here, and move on to curls. Okay. 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 I lied. Not one more of these, but one more of a different thing. And then curls. I feel I can get just a little bit more blood in my triceps before I'm fully done. All right. One more. Kind of I'll do a drop set. Start overhand, drop the weight, burn out underhand, and then be done. And I definitely changed the style of my sets throughout the workout. Like sometimes towards the beginning of the lift, when I'm fresh and strong, I like doing slower reps and really squeezing as hard as I can. But sometimes at the end of the lift, I'm just trying to really fucking get as pumped as possible. Brutish, kind of throw the weight around sort of reps, that does the trick for me. And emphasis on does the trick for me. You know, you gotta figure this shit out yourself. Okay. Okay. Let's go grab some dumbbells. 70s should be perfect. Yeah. Oh my fucking God. Okay. One more. Oh my God. One more at least. Oh my god, okay. Let's move on to fucking machine curls. Some heavy machine curls, that'll be perfect next. Okay. Let's go a little lighter. Do a double arm set next. But some self-assistance, if you're doing like a single arm preacher or single arm curls, it does add some intensity for those last few reps to pull yourself up to the top and ride the weight down. But one more here. Fuck, man, this is gonna be a quick one. Potentially a drop set to be determined. You know, I'll see how this first part feels. And if you ever do a set where you know you kind of, you know, you picked a good weight, it feels decent, but you know you kind of gave up a little early, do not feel like that set has to be done. You can add a drop set to any fucking set in your fucking workout. I mean, first set, last set, whatever. If you feel a little bit scrappy and you know, like, okay, if I'm done right now, I'm probably gonna feel bad because I know I didn't really push it. Just do a drop set, man. Or apart from not going hard enough, if you go too heavy and you only get like 5 or 6 reps, I'll do that a lot with squats. Like whenever I'm really squatting heavy, some days I get a little ego-y and I go heavier than I can really probably handle. And I only get like, let's say 5 reps. If I do like 5 plates for 5 reps, I'm probably just gonna rack it, jump out, smack a plate off and turn it into a drop set. Just because, I mean, it's still a good set. You know, 5 reps to 30 reps, I'm pretty sure that's like, as long as you're training hard, that's an effective rep range. But in my mind, 5's a little low. I wouldn't want to do 5 reps for every set. So 8's usually my bar. So if I go so heavy I can't get 8, that's almost always a cue for me to do a drop set. But enough technique chat, let's hit this shit. Yeah, let's drop that shit. Okay. Easy bar preachers next. Let's curl this shit. Oh my god, okay. Let's turn that into a fucking superset. Okay. Oh. Standing curls are way easier than preachers. So you don't have to drop the weight to make it easier. But fuck, man, I think that's it. Let's go pose down. All right. So arms now fully pumped. I feel, holy shit, I feel, honestly, this pump is almost pushing like bulk level feeling in terms of how fucking swollen I am. But, what's feeling compared to an actual visual. So let's see what we're really working with. Oh man, I mean, this is great. Oh yeah. All right, one more. Actually, no, we'll do a couple more. I can't help myself. Let's see what else is there. This one will only get freakier the leaner that I get. This crucifix, or what am I saying? Mantis is kind of relies on some striations up here on your, or some separation between your bicep, your fucking, brachialis. Sometimes I forget all the names of this shit. But that's a pair of fucking arms if I've ever seen one. Oof. I want there to be more poses just so I can run through some more. I mean, woof. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So honestly, this is what I want my arms to look like at all times. If they were this big, unpumped, like this is my baseline, just walk around build, I mean, this would be fucking perfect. I didn't bring my measuring tape, but I will. So we can measure arms pumped up tomorrow. Morning weight, 243. So now I'm really getting to the point where even though I'm getting smaller physically, I am still getting like more impressive looking. Like my shoulders are looking way more capped now. There's just a little bit of fat being peeled off of my this sort of spot right between shoulder and tricep. I mean, it's starting to make an insanely noticeable difference. Let me try to, it's kind of tricky to do a side tricep with full on arm pump, but yeah, I mean, this is just fucking sick. So it should only look crazier in the coming, weeks. And then we can actually start to get fully bulked up, which I think, well, I mean, come on, it's just going to be fucking nuts. So, well, now I just want to sit here for a few more minutes. For you, let's go jump to forearms. For me, I'm going to fucking, let's get out of here. We're done. So the approach with forearms is rather simple. You got the front, you got the back, or I guess you could say top and bottom, that might be a better word. But, you've got this action of sort of flexing your arm that way, kind of pulling things. And then you can also extend your forearm. That's these kind of freaky lines on the back. So I always do that first, just because it's like, it's kind of the easier, lighter part of forearms. But the best way that I know how to do it, apart from sitting here with like a rice bucket and just like constantly closing and opening my hands, that does fucking destroy your forearms. Any grip strength athletes, they know what I'm talking about there. But in terms of working the back, I always just grab a light dumbbell, take a seat, because I'm going to be here for like fucking 6 sets. Because all I'm going to do, hold this thing one side, and then not even like a massive movement, So just sit here for like 20 reps on either side. And it's like, I'm really going for more of a burn. It's kind of tricky to hit legit muscular failure, but you know, I'll just fucking do this for 6 sets and we can cut to the bottom of the forearm. Okay. Doesn't take much. I'm gonna camp out here for a while. The tedious part is finally over. Now I can do the fun part. So you could sit here on like a bench and, you know, hang a dumbbell off the bench and hold it, kind of curl like this. But the easiest setup for hitting like the, you know, big fancy part of your forearm, let's just call it the foot side. Straight bar, heavy weight, you know, a little over head height. Bend over just a touch, and then just sit here and spam this. I'm trying to squeeze as hard as I can, but I'm also balancing that out with like kind of burning out reps. Like with the triceps, I might hold a rep at the bottom. With these, I do just kind of pump them out. And if you've ever gotten a legit forearm pump, then you know that it happens pretty quick. So I'll sit here for a few. I might do some behind the back barbell forearm curls. That's kind of an older school move. And then jump back in the posing room, but no need to take the shirt off this time. The forearm's already out in the open. Okay. So I'm not necessarily taking these to like complete muscular failure. I'm really just going for a burn. And after about 4 or 5, I'll get to the point where 10 reps is getting hard. But we can just fast forward these. It's all the same shit. And see how the forearms are looking. 6 sets of those bar curls and then 6 of those reverse dumbbell curls. Let's see what it added up to. I feel pretty pumped, but sometimes forearms it feels a little more, it's a little more physical. It's not so visual of a pump. But let's take a look. I'll try to do some blood flow tricks to get extra veiny. Oh, a little. For me, my my right forearm is a little, just a little thicker than the left one. But honestly, even just looking at them right now, it's hard to tell a real difference or anything. But this building down here, that's what's going to give you sort of this little, like, you know, the picture I'm about to reference. You know, where your forearm is like poking out in the back and like a side tricep. That's from this action. Which, sure, it gets worked when you're doing rows and back and whatever, or even curls just from holding the shit that you're holding. But manual forearm work, unless you're a genetic beast, like a certain Mr. Priest, it's pretty much necessary. And what am I talking about? He worked his forearms. But yeah, that's so this is where I want some more separation. Because the bigger your forearm is in your tricep, it'll make your elbow joint even smaller. And that's I never hear people talk about it now, but that's a real old school kind of way of looking at the looking at sort of your physique. It's you want your joints to look smaller. So by building up this thick part of your, you know, upper arm and building your forearm, it'll make your elbow appear smaller when you're posing, which just makes your muscles look even fucking bigger. You know, it's kind of a little bit of an illusion game. But let's see how this one. Yeah, so same thing. I want some more meat down here, and I definitely want some more meat up here. But good arm day, really fucking strong arm day, honestly. If you watched the last video, I made sure to have a solid amount of carbs before this workout, and I can fucking feel them. When you're dieting down, you know, if you've only got 300 carbs to play with, you are gonna notice your workout change, at least in terms of like, I almost want to say how fueled up you are, depending on whether you've eaten a good amount of carbs or maybe a little bit sparse. Maybe you were kind of sparse that day. But let's get in the car and just go home, eat something, and answer some questions. So a decent amount of time has already passed from post-workout chit-chat and whatever else. But still, I mean, that's... still a residual pump. Which I highly fucking attribute to the 6 Eggo waffles that I had for, I mean, not breakfast, but, you know, my post-cardio meal that I had at noon, which was, I mean, it was technically breakfast, you know, break fast. Not necessarily I mean, that's not a calorie smart move. You know, those are 15 grams of carbs each and 2 grams of fat each. So that was a big chunk of my calories. That was 90 grams of carbs, I think about 12 grams of fat. So that adds up to what? I mean, almost 500 calories right there of just sweets, you know, not even protein, which, I mean, that's the benefit of fucking tracking your macros, man. You know, you can be a little bit more flexible. You don't have to be so locked into very specific foods, because if you track everything, then, you know, if you want to have I mean, if I want to have a classic fucking, you know, Sam breakfast of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and, you know, 2 cups of milk, fuck, man, as long as I don't overshoot my 300 grams of carbs for the day, fine, you know. It just does take some effort, and not on the end of like, okay, I'm dieting, so I need to be careful and like not eat. It's more so like, even though I can kind of eat whatever, and I think anybody can kind of eat whatever, you do have to be careful about the total amount for the whole day. So if you want to have a sugary cereal breakfast, you got to make sure you only have a cup of it, you know, 2 cups of milk, track the whole thing, and if it adds up to like fucking, you know, 600 calories, and if you're kind of a lighter dude, then your deficit might be 600, or no, whoa, 600. Do not ever do a diet where your daily intake is 600 calories. Jesus. But let's say you're, you know, let's say you're like 180, you're trying to cut down, you know, you could be in a deficit, or what I'm trying to say is a good deficit for you to lose fat on a, you know, week-to-week basis. It could be as low as like fucking 2,000, or, I mean, depending, if you're an extra smaller dude, maybe even 1,800. Now, if you're still kind of a beginner, I don't really recommend dieting. That should be you making use of your newbie gains and really kind of putting on that quick muscle before it starts to slow down. But all I'm trying to say there is, you know, calories, fucking, if you're tracking them and you're trying to stay under a certain limit, they add up quick. So, you know, if you do want to treat, maybe plan accordingly. You know, if you want to have like 1,000 calorie, I mean, fuck, if I wanted to go to McDonald's and get like 3 single cheeseburgers right now, or let's just say not right now, but like, let's say tomorrow I had a hankering for them, and I was like, I'm getting McDonald's, I want it, it's going to make me feel good, I'm going to track the macros. That means I need to somehow, you know, orient my day so that I can have a 900 calorie hit all at once and still be able to, you know, be moderately satiated for the rest of the day. So if I wanted to, it's not like I have cheat days. You know, even when I have treats and stuff, I still track them and I stay in my deficit, so I'm still dieting down. But if I want to have what would basically be like a cheat meal, where I'm eating like, you know, could be 1,000 calories all at once of, you know, kind of just a real tasty sort of food. I'm not talking like a fake carb bun or the low protein or the low fat peanut butter powder. You know, I'm talking about straight up, like if I want to have like 4 ice cream sandwiches or something. If I wanted to have that at, you know, 8 o'clock before I went to bed, then I would need to leave room in my day so that I had, you know, an extra fucking 600 calories left. So that's just, you know, it just makes sense to me. If you get what I'm saying, you know, it's something that you kind of just have to do to really get, you know. But I mean, fuck it, man. However you lose body fat and however you diet down, as long as it works for you, then who am I to say shit, man? Do whatever you want. But I think people get turned off by the idea of trying to diet down and lose body fat because, you know, dieting, and especially like meathead style dieting, has a pretty rough barrier of entry. of like, you know, all you gotta use chicken and rice and salt and mustard. You're not allowed any sauces. You're not allowed. There's anytime you hear you're not allowed, that's kind of a just a repulsing sort of statement, you know. Whereas I wouldn't even call it flexible dieting, flexible dieting, you know, but the if it fits your macros approach, I do think that that's, if you can have the what's the word I'm trying to think of? Not even discipline, but if you can handle tracking all your shit every day, reading every nutrition label, fats, carbs, proteins, writing it down on your phone, making sure you stay under your limit every day. If you can deal with that little drawback, because it is a little bit of a chore. I mean, I'm constantly opening my little macro tracker app throughout the day. But once you do it for long enough, it doesn't really feel like a fucking chore. It's just second nature. So if you can get over that initial hump, then that's the best way to go about it. You know, in terms of dieting approaches, I say macro tracking just as a whole is pretty much S tier. But it is kind of it's a little tricky to get into, you know, but that's all I really got to say there. As long as you get your high quality protein sources in, then, you know, if you've got 50 grams of fat and 200 grams of carbs, if you eat them evenly throughout the day, I'm not insanely concerned about where they're coming from. You know, maybe I have 6 whole eggs for breakfast, so there's 30 grams of fat there. Or, well, maybe probably not 6. I probably only do 2. That's 10 grams of fat. Or, you know, maybe I have some whole milk. Maybe I get a ribeye instead of a flank steak, so it's a little bit fattier. I got to account for that. I mean, as long as you track it up. If I had 100 grams of carbs worth of donuts today, but I still stayed under my 300 grams of carbs total for the whole day is what I ate, I'm still gonna fucking trim down, you know? So that's what I'm saying there. So I'm not sure if I watched any videos. Like, I don't think I watched a video of someone tell me like this is the approach to diet, and it just like resonated with me. But if you do the math, 2,700 calories of chicken, rice, olive oil, egg yolks, or, you know, just whole eggs, it is similar. I'm not going to say it's exactly the same, of course. I would not say that. But it is similar to, you know, same thing, steaks, eggs, you know, chicken, turkey, high quality protein sources, coupled with, you know, maybe just some packs of ramen, you know, some fried rice, a little bit of ice cream in there, could be. Perhaps, I mean, pre-workout, I wouldn't mind 50 grams of carbs of Skittles, just for kind of a short-term blood sugar spike, which when you diet it down, it will kind of give you a little bit of extra, you'll feel it. You'll feel a touch of extra energy. But I'm really getting into a ramble now, so I'm gonna go cook I'm just doing another flank steak like yesterday. I'll couple that with probably a bag of instant rice, and then we can get to some burning questions. I think I'm gonna change my protein source from flank to one of these guys. Which one looks the cutest? They're usually the tenderest. All right, cardio is freshly finished. So if you're watching this like right as soon as I posted this video, I only did this part is like probably only like 2 hours beforehand, because this is now the next day. But I posted a little TikTok yesterday, and I said comment any burning questions. So let's actually run through some of these here. Maybe I'll even try to overlay the fucking... You'll see. Do I do any fancy pants editing? Or do I not? If I do, it's going to say it right here-ish, what's going on. But, do I still play Clash Royale? Asks a name that's all emojis. It's kind of obvious. I wouldn't say I'm like a hardcore player, but pretty solid time kill for cardio. Let's see here. Oh, a little double. Guste Pepe says, what am I studying? Mechanical engineering. You know, I'm getting into maths and physics and like machining. You know, we're in this one machine tool shop where it's just full of like CNC machines and drill presses and, you know, welding equipment and fucking, you know, TIG wire and sheet metal and everything else. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's like, I'm not really going to not going to end up really going into that field now, but it's still kind of fun. And then Callum Smith asks, will I ever do a golf vid with Mark? Yeah, that's planned. I really need to just work on my drive. Honestly, I think that's probably a big factor for me. But we went to Top Golf like 2 months ago or something, and I got into the zone for like 10 shots in a row, straight down the middle, fucking 200 yards, with like the scrappy Top Golf driver. But my chest started getting a little tight because I'm not used to that fucking swinging motion, and I was just shanking every single one of them. Like some of the times I would hit it, the ball would come back at me. I kind of had to call it there. What are some supplements you would recommend everyone to take? Like vitamins. I feel like I say this every time. Honestly, I wouldn't get too... You don't have to go too deep into it. I mean, I've got a little box because I go back and forth between home and school. I keep all my vitamins in. And I'm probably going a little overkill. But if you're a regular schmo, you know, take a men's multivitamin. You can even take it as a gummy so you don't have to fucking, you know, swallow a pill. You can just have a little treat before bed. So I'd say multivitamin and fish oil. Those are your top dogs. And if you really think that you need some extra, you know, B12 or biotin, or you know, maybe you want to take some like oral L-carnitine, see if you get some of the effects there. You know, it's not going to hurt you, but there's fucking dudes who, they don't give a fuck about vitamins, and they look pretty big. But I think multivitamin and fish oil, that's your best bet, Manuel. Robbie asks, what's the best way outside of preacher curls to take the weight off of your shoulders when doing bicep exercises? Very good point. Very good question. I mean, I fucking feel this a lot. Whenever I do bicep curls extra heavy, you know, I'm talking like fucking 50 pounds and above, there's kind of no way to get around it. Because think about the fucking nature of doing a curl while standing. Right now, I'm holding the dumbbell right down my side. So even though my shoulder's being activated a little, just holding the weight, it's not doing much. But as you curl it forward, now the weight is here in front of my shoulder. My front delt has to activate, so that's kind of what he's getting at here. Some machine curls. Could do drag curls. I'm not really a huge fan though. You know, that's where you're on like instead of curling up here, you almost like do a little something like this, where you just kind of, well, basically drag the dumbbell upwards in line with your shoulder. Yeah, just something like that. You could definitely do underhand biased, underhand pull downs, bicep biased. You know, sit down on a pull down machine, put your hands decently close together on a straight bar. And then instead of pulling down with your lats, you sort of pull your hands toward your shoulders with your biceps. But other than that, there's just no way to get around it. You know, maybe just if you don't swing as much, you're probably good. But unless you've got really overdeveloped shoulders, a little shoulder activation isn't going to hurt you. Michael, I see nobody asking the big question. Sam, are you going to oil up? Yeah, that's a good one. That's a pretty good one. And you know what? The answer is actually yes. But not just for fun. And this is kind of playing into another question, because I've already kind of read these before. But the first bodybuilding show, you don't just get a spray tan and that's the end of it. They spray you, and then you're tan, you know, I'll be darker. But then they've got to fucking oil you up so you're actually like extra shiny. So oiled up Sam, if that's your deal, if that's what you're waiting for, then it's just a waiting game. You know, just bide your time, you know, twiddle your thumbs. It will happen eventually. Do I prefer energy drinks or pre-workout? Asks Joy's Research. I think that's obvious. I think that's pretty obvious for an actual workout. the pump effects of the vasodilators, plus, the stimulant effect from the caffeine, I really don't think it's comparable. Like, if I were to just do a workout and drink a Monster, compared to how pumped I would be taking like a legit fucking, stim-free pre-workout, like a Bloodshot, or just straight up like Hostility normal pre, yeah, you're gonna notice. For a long time, I didn't really even take any pre-workout because in my mind, I thought it was kind of like unnecessary, like a gimmick. But if that's you and you're kind of on the anti-pre-workout end of things and you're thinking to yourself like, oh, well, I don't want to depend on it, at least try it. Because I swear you're going to notice if you do a chest day with nothing compared to a chest day with a fucking pre-workout, you'll feel it. You will feel it for sure. But there is a place for something like an energy drink, pre-cardio. I don't need the pump effects of an actual pre to, get myself amped up for the cardio session in the morning. So that's usually going to be kind of my back and forth. Maybe 200 milligrams of caffeine of some variety, be it coffee, caffeine capsules, a fucking Monster, and then before the workout, a legit pre. But reasonable question. Josh, how do I start to legitimately enjoy lifting? I know you do, but was there ever a time where you didn't feel motivated? Now, that's a really good question. Honestly, that was one of the ones I'm kind of excited to talk about. And it's, it's kind of tricky, right? Because it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell to work out for the uninitiated. Because, if you're somebody who's never lifted before, or somebody who's never lifted before, and you have them watch Pumping Iron, and they're listening to Arnold talk about how good the pump feels, they just don't get it. They're not going to be able to wrap their head around it and really think like, oh yeah, that actually does look really cool. They're just going to think like, oh, yeah, you're in shape, but like whatever. So for someone like that to start working out, for the first like 2 months, maybe 3 months, or, depending on how, rough your starting spot is, if we're being honest, if you got a crazy amount of body fat starting off, you're going to have a little bit of a longer period of time before you really start to see results. But I think that's the most important thing. If I was the same size that I was when I started working out and I made 0 gains this whole time, I really do not think I'd be having any fun. I think I probably would have stopped a long time ago because I'd be like, oh, I'm not growing. I'm not making gains. I'm no stronger than I was before. What's the point of what I'm doing? So in terms of actually having fun with it, I think you have to get to a point where you're actually, progressed at least a few levels higher than you were as a starter, before you've started lifting, so that you can look back and already see the progress that you've made. So you know that the work that you're doing is working. And if you continue to do it, you're going to see more and more results over time. I've talked about this before, the period of time where you start working out, but you don't really see any results, that's the trickiest. That's when you're making investments, you're pouring money into something, and it's not showing really any sign of return. And in the process, you're also kind of having a hard time. If somebody takes you through a really hard leg day and you're an uninitiated lifter, it's going to fucking hit you hard if you really push it. So if that's you, I do think that as a beginner, you need to be able to be content with the fact that it's going to take a second to really see the changes that you're, inducing from the training that you're doing. But once you've seen that you're growing, it gets pretty fucking exciting. There's no chance that I'm ever just going to stop working out because I'm like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm really going to get any bigger. Like at this point in my mind, I'm just fucking locked in, it's just my thing now. But how do you start to legitimately enjoy it? I guess that's kind of up to you, man. For me, I like the fucking, I don't know, it's just cool to push yourself. So just going in and doing a hard workout, partially kind of an ego thing. It's cool because when I see people who are fucking huge and they're working out hard, I think that's fucking cool. So I kind of want to emulate that in my own training. But it could also be you need to make a routine which works for you a little bit better. If somebody puts you on to like an upper body, lower body split every other day and you have way too much volume in your routine, you're going to have no fucking fun doing it. But just so we don't spend too long sitting on this one, I think you need to try to optimize your progress. And in a way, it doesn't hurt to gamify it, you know? Like, I don't track it as much now because it doesn't... You get to a point in size where strength and like numbers and one rep maxes, they're not so... It's just not so important, you know? I'm never going to need to bench 500 pounds, nor do I really want to, because what I want to do is fucking just build my chest. But gamifying it, you know, and especially in the earlier years, you'll be able to make pretty consistent progressive overload jumps. So maybe that's what you should do, if that gives you any insight. Mr. J, Mr. Josh. Oswa, do I take pre-workout every day? Yeah. Yes, I do. I will kind of go back and forth between doing a little bit more on the stim side and like having a couple extra scoops, and then maybe back off for a week, maybe even just do stim free, because I do not, I mean, you're not going to build a tolerance to the pump side of things. You know, the pump, the nitric oxide, the citrulline, arginine, every other crazy ingredient, those aren't just going to like, you're not going to build a tolerance to that. That's always going to be good for you working out, you know, better pumps, better blood flow, should be a touch veinier. That's good. But there is kind of a downward spiral where if you're sort of chasing a feeling from the stimulant side, you end up doing more and more and more. And I know dudes who are like only 170 and they're telling me like, yeah, I took 800 milligrams of caffeine, I'm fucking cracked out. And that's just pushing it, you know? So if you can tell that you're really starting to develop a caffeine intolerance and you start increasing your caffeine take as a result, then you're really setting yourself up for failure. You know, if you can tell maybe your caffeine isn't hitting you as hard as you think, or as it used to, I wouldn't say it's in your best interest to immediately start raising that you're doing. Maybe you just take a week, do just stim free, and then come back to what you usually do, and it should kind of give you a similar effect. But if not, I don't know. Sometimes I'll even do fucking like 500 milligrams of caffeine. But for me, I feel like that's even pushing it. That's usually on just like a leg day or something. Just straight up user, Sam, do you plan to compete in any pro bodybuilding shows? Well, I'd have to be a pro bodybuilder. You know, I haven't really like, I mean, I don't have a show planned or anything like that, but the basic approach in my mind in the future is you do a qualifying show, which anybody can fucking enter. I mean, me and you could both enter this qualifying show and be in the same class as like novice. And then you place well enough here that you get to do a bigger show, you know, a regional show. Or no. What am I talking about here? No, the smaller show leads into a national show, which is a pro qualifier. So it's basically like qualifying show, national show, and then pro bodybuilding show. So they got to get big enough to go from that qualifying show to a national show, and then be even crazy enough there to go from just an NPC bodybuilder to a professional. That's kind of that's like the fastest method, you know, because you don't really get any points for doing a bunch of, you know, qualifying shows throughout the year and then doing a national show. You get experience. But in my mind, that always kind of made sense, you know, like if you have pretty much infinite time to prepare, you know, there's no limit on how fucking developed your physique can get before you jump into like your qualifying show, then I say just get as big as you fucking can before then. And then when you show up, you're a fucking nutcase. You know, you're literally just a freak out of nowhere. So that's always kind of been my approach. Getting back to a question that was not asked, but love Rich Piana. That's not a mystery. But I remember hearing a video where he was saying the same thing, you know, just fucking, I mean, kind of like a grind in silence type situation. And then, you know, compete once you're really, you know, a competitive build already. And when I heard him say that, I was like, I've been thinking the same fucking thing. It's perfect. You know, so I'm kind of flipping your question a little bit, but if you were kind of a, you know, teenage level character, sub 160, sub even 180, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but if I were you, I may not be so concerned with immediately trying to get on stage as fast as possible and really try to bias my growth first. You know, because as much as we talk about symmetry and like proportions and, you know, your leanness or whatever else, Like bodybuilding it's bodybuilding. If you got a built body, you're gonna fucking do better. So spending more time on that, I think, is gonna be in your best interest. But yeah, pro bodybuilding show. I could see it eventually, maybe. But we'll have to see. You know, that's not a set in stone type situation. Goat guy, Sam, are you a Sigma? And who's your favorite fictional character? You'd have to define Sigma exactly. I'm getting a little bit out of touch with the exact terminology. If you haven't been scrolling on TikTok for years like I have, then every time you hear Sigma and Alpha and those those words have kind of lost their meaning over time. I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess I'd want to be a Sigma, right? Isn't that cool? But what's my favorite fictional character? Oh my goodness. There's so many to choose from. Probably choose Guts. Guts is pretty badass. Guts or Jotaro or Zoro. Those are top three. Those guys are pretty cool. But there's a fucking bazillion, you know. But if you're a fucking huge Zoro fan and you're a lifter, I'm sure that's cool to hear. You know, who doesn't love a three-sword style? Would I rather have Tom Platt's legs in 82 or Arnold's bicep peak in 75? That's a good question. It's a very bodybuilding-centered question. I like it. From Corey with a frog emoji. Probably want Tom Platz's legs. You know, a big pair of biceps, it's cool, but it's not like fucking, it's not gonna blow anybody away. You know, whereas like to jump from my legs to Tom Platz's legs in 82, which I would assume that's like his peak, just the way, based on the way this guy asked the question. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tom Platz's legs. That is in terms of rarity, something like that on like a typical, you know, kind of still aesthetic sort of build, absolutely nuts. Arcani, any anime you've been watching lately? Obviously I keep referencing Jujutsu Kaisen. And I mean, you know, I keep up with One Piece. Like I used to, I feel like I've seen all the good ones already, you know, but once Steel Ball Run comes out, I'm sure I'm going to be watching on a weekly basis. But yeah, pretty much JJK is it as of late. Oh, okay. Lucian asks, did I have a decent gap between my pecs when I started working out? I'm trying to fill mine up. That's a very good question. I mean, yeah, I don't have like a crazy gap. I mean, we all know that there are characters with insanely wide chests where you know their muscles don't really insert until like mid rib over here. It doesn't even really reach the sternum. Which, if that's you, it's still not gonna hurt to have a bigger chest. But yeah, I feel like it probably, I don't think it's really changed size much, but it was probably a little bit wider when I was smaller. But you can't really do anything specific for that, man. You know, it's like there's you can grow a muscle, but you can't sculpt the muscle. Like, I mean, you know, in basic terms, right? If I really wanted to try to like work my brachialis, like this little fancy muscle between my tricep and my bicep, I could do it. You know, I could manually work that one muscle. But if someone asked me like, what's a movement I can do to lengthen my biceps? Because like when they do a double bicep flex, they have a big gap between their peak and where it kind of hits like tendon, and there's that little gap in between. And there's nothing you can do. But just by growing, those things are going to kind of fade away and become a little bit less noticeable. I mean, even me, like I think my biceps don't jump out at you like, oh, he's got really short biceps. You know, so like when I hit a flex now, there's not much room in between bicep and forearm. But when I was a 160 pounder, when I started working out, I mean, it was fucking way more pronounced. But my forearm was smaller, my bicep was smaller. You know, with any kind of little imperfections like that, it's just something that's going to kind of fill out over time. You know, it's not like, yeah. Plus, you got to remember, you are the one who's the most like hypersensitive to these little things. If somebody showed me a picture of their physique and wanted me to like critique it, my real points would probably be like, well, you could probably work on your Work on your shoulders a little more, or your chest could probably come up a little more. Like real, just kind of basic shit like that. Whereas if you're like self-critiquing, you're going to be fucking pinpointing and magnifying everything under the sun. Like, oh, I wish my forearm striation. I wish my bicep was a little longer. I wish my left pec inserted a little lower. Like little things like that, you know, it's just, you're a little bit hypersensitive to it. But in terms of did I have a decent gap? No, it wasn't too big. And even now, like I'm still touching sternum in between. That's just something that's kind of genetic. You know, I mean, some guys, their chest, like they can't even touch their sternum. It's almost like their chest meets in the middle. But it will thin out, or at least appear smaller, as your chest gets bigger. That's a good one, though. Brian says, Sam, my prom date is under 200 pounds. Should I still go with her? That's an interesting one, Brian. I mean, not to be, you know, no disrespect to anybody, but why would that be a problem? When you want that, I mean, I'm pretty sure prom has already happened. No, it's probably going to happen a little later. I don't know. I guess this guy's still in high school. Yeah, I guess still go with her. What the hell? Yeah, go with her, of course. Now, if this is a girl commenting, Sam, my prom date is under 200 pounds. Should I still go with him? Then I might be a little iffy. I might say, well, I don't know. Is he lean at least? You know, it's a big. But yeah, I think you should still go, Brian. And you shouldn't need my approval for that. Jai asks, what is one part of your body that you would want doubled in size? Well, do you mean a muscle group or do you mean a part of my body? You know, let's get specific here. But I don't know. That's actually kind of tricky. Let's take it in the muscle growth context. What's one part of my body I want doubled in size? Probably legs. Because then I could kind of follow the Jay Cutler method. Because for him, or at least as I've heard, you know, it's like he told me this, but like in videos, Jay said before that he had to take years off of training his legs to bring his upper body up. And I think for me, like my legs aren't small. Honestly, I've got a pretty reasonably distributed like set of fucking, let's just say strong points. Like my biceps don't jump out crazier than my legs. Like I'm still pretty evenly built, but to double, yeah, I'd probably have to pick the legs. And then I can just work on fucking, you know, just upper body for like, I mean, if they're doubled in size from what they are now, I could just do fucking upper body for like fucking 3 years, like a men's physique dude. And by the time I'm done with that, I mean, that'd be nuts. That's a cool world to live in. But I only screenshotted that many, but let's go back. These are actually kind of funny. Okay, let's find out. Let's see if we can. Sam Thulik enthusiast asks, was it always your goal to be a social media influencer, or did it just happen because of the TikTok posts? So if you're unaware, I used to post a ton of TikToks first before like the legit, you know, more serious kind of workout videos. Like the TikTok is all jokes. Those are all like every time I'm talking about strength-based training and like ego lifting, the TikTok is for jokes. You know, that's just for goofs. But I mean, yeah, you know, a couple of guys in my school started posting shit and they kind of blew up. So that was always I guess that's kind of the goal. I wanted to make them funny too, but yeah, I mean, here we are now, fucking way blown out of the water. So, I mean, I wanted it to grow, but I didn't think it would grow this crazy, right? I mean, this is fucking nuts. Another oil up question. Does it clap? All right, come on. What do you think of the new Young Sheldon season? I don't keep up with Young Sheldon. Are you serious? Sam, I'm not 200 pounds yet. What should I do? From Lennon. Well, what you should really do is click away from this fucking video and go back to the gym and start grinding. Or actually, maybe that's not even a good move. Maybe you should go to an all-you-can-eat buffet. That might be a little bit better in terms of a move to get you above that 200-pound mark. Because you can't train, I mean, you can't out-train yourself to 200 pounds if you're not eating enough food. And I can say that with fucking certainty. You know, if I was like locked into a fucking prison and every day I only got 2,000 calories, I would shrink down to probably like fucking 180 eventually. I'd be a lean ass 180, but you know, as you grow, the amount of calories that you need to stay the same weight also increases. So flipping that around, if you want to grow to a certain size, then you have to eat the food of the guy that's eating like that, you know? If you are a 150 pounder and you want to become a 200 pounder, it's not going to hurt to get a little bit closer to eating like a 200 pounder would. You know, the biggest guys are the ones who can eat the most. So don't forget that part. But we'll scroll down through a little bit more of these. Samsulic oil up when? Pool trip soon. That's a good one. From Magali. Yeah. I need to fucking stretch out a little bit so I don't like rip my hamstring off. But yeah, I'll get back in that little diving well soon enough. I need to, I'll clip it, of course. I got to see if I can still do all those tricks and stuff. I just got to make sure I don't fucking hurt myself. I don't think I will, but, you know, it's always good to warm up for that kind of shit. All right, I'm scrolling for the last one. Yeah, this is a good one. Sam, I can't bulk no matter how much I try. Am I cooked? From G-Dub. Frankly, you got to take that G... I mean, you got to change your whole fucking username. G-Dub. You got to change that to fucking big L. Look, man. I literally just said this 3 fucking seconds ago. The only thing that's stopping you from growing is that you're not eating enough fucking food. Your calorie intake simply is not enough to, you know, let your body actually fucking deposit lean tissue onto your fucking muscle. You know, be it quads, hamstrings, chest, back, arms, everything. You're not eating enough food. The amount of fuel you're putting in your system is simply too low. And if it's actually impossible for you to eat any more food, like you're legitimately like at your limit, there's no chance you can get any more calories in, it's just, you can't do it, then yeah, you're fucking cooked, man. All right, I'll be real with you. But not really, because I know you can eat more fucking food. This is a classic fucking trope. Oh, I eat so much already. I have, you know, it really gets me. Like, that's, so when people say like, oh, I eat so much already, that's just a subjective thing, you know, that's whatever. But I really do not love hearing people tell me, and this is like a 180-pound dude, and they're saying like, dude, I eat 8,000 calories a day on my last bulk. I didn't grow. Dude, I had 10,000 calories every 3 days pretty much, you know, on like a high calorie day, and I didn't grow for shit, man, you know. I guess I'm a hard gainer. I've never heard anything more ludicrous in my fucking life. You know, it's just, because I know for a fact that if I were to follow this guy around and track all the food that he's eating, even if he does feel like it's a lot of food, it's not even close to 7. It's probably more like fucking 3.5. Sure. So if you hear anybody tell me, or anybody say like, oh, I'm eating 7,000 calories a day, they're either lying or they're a fucking massive ass freak. And you should be able to tell the difference pretty quickly. But I think that's as many as we need to get through today. So you tell me, you know, I love, I want to change this shit up a little. You know, of course, we're still going to get the workouts in, but any of these little specials, if you got any ideas, you can leave a comment below. How about that? Now I really sound like a fucking YouTuber. But legs later, probably going to take a short nap, get extra hydrated, try to squat 1,000,000 fucking pounds. So I'll see you then.